Hello? Yona, we're on? Okay, everyone. Good.
Is it going to be available online also?
Yes, it is going to be online. Okay. Just give me 1 second.
The recording has started.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. Sorry we didn't do it last night. As Hashem, next week we'll be back to Wednesday evening. Okay. We are holding over here the third class in this unbelievable talk that the Rebbe gave on the 28th of Sivan. And we are holding now in... We're holding now by Siv Daled, Be'ikr, Perek Daled. Okay, so let me just recap quickly. In this talk, the Rebbe is talking about the uniqueness of the day of Koyach Sivan, which we know is the day that the Rebbe himself came to, the day that, if you can, I think I hear noise, so if you can, I think you forgot to remute yourself or anybody. Okay. Figured that then. Thank you. Okay, so that's the day the Rebbe himself came to America, and he came. It's so you see Hashgacha Pratis that his coming to America is associated with this day, because he actually came twice on this day. He came the first time when he was saved from the Nazis, and the second time he came on this day when he went to pick up his mother and bring her to America. He also arrived on the 28th of Sivan. The Rebbe says the 28th of Sivan is the idea of koyach. Koyach means it's the power of Sivan. What's Sivan? Sivan is the third month, and because it's the third month, it's related to the giving of the Torah. And number 3, the Rebbe says, is all about the strength. 3 is the number of strength. Something is established with 3 times, and especially, so therefore the number 28 is a significant number, because 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So when you have the strength of 3 times 3 times 3, you end up with 27, and 27 pours into 28, because you don't really have the full strength until you completed the 27th day. So the day that has all the strength is the 28. That's why it's koyach. So, but what is the koyach of what? Of if the 28th of Adar is the koyach of Adar, 28th, it's the power of Adar, because you have the power of 3 of Adar. The power of Sivan is the power of Sivan. What's the power of Sivan? The Torah. So on the 28th of Sivan, you have expressed the power of the Torah. And what is the Torah all about? The Torah brings out the power. The reason it's interesting, the Torah is given on the 3rd month, because since number 3 is the idea of koyach, of strength, so Torah gives off the strength of everything. First of all, it strengthens the world. The fact that the world is on God's radar in a very intimate way, not just on Hashem's radar, but Hashem is deeply, intimately involved with every aspect of the world, which is through the giving of the Torah, because that's when Hashem's personal needs and wants, or let's say Hashem's personal deepest desires, are realized through the creation. So the world becomes a very significant and important entity. So the worlds become exponentially, infinitely, endlessly more important, because they're expressing the innermost, the deepest innermost of God's essence, of the Eibishter's desire. So the world becomes so much more powerful. The power of the Jewish people, that we're able to make such a non-godly world, such a hostile world, make it holy, and it brings out the power of Hashem. That even such a hostile, distant, most disconnected entity that seems to oppose his unity, and that too, Hashem's truth will eventually, or like when the Torah is given, that Hashem's truth can catch up with such a world, with such a disconnected entity, and reveal itself through and within the world. So that shows the power of the Eibishter as well, how his power is unlimited. That's why the Torah is called strength. Shem Oiz, the Torah is called koyach, because it brings out the koyach of everything. Fine. And then last week we learned, and therefore Davka, when you hit, so that's why the Torah was given in the lowest world, because that's dafka where the strength of it comes out. It's not that it could even come to the lowest world. Dafka, when it comes down into the lowest world, permeates the lowest world, reveals itself through the lowest of the low, that's when its ultimate realization of what Torah really is, that it is strength, is actualized. And he says that that's the whole theme of this week's parsha, Parsha Shalach. Because Kav Sivan always is connected to this week's parsha, either in the week of Parsha Shalach or the week following Parsha Shalach, like it is this time as well. That in Parsha Shalach we have the Eibishter sends the spies, the Meraglim, and the eternal lesson that we learned last week of sending spies is that it's an ongoing thing. Hashem sends each and every one of us, and what's the purpose of it is Vayasuru es Eretz Canaan. What is the idea of Vayasuru es Eretz Canaan? Because even after we received the Torah in the Midbar, we got the Torah, we're the Hashem's chosen people, we have the Torah, but we have to implement the Torah. The Torah was meant to be implemented. Where was it meant to be implemented? It was meant to be implemented in earth, to make an unholy world holy. And we begin with Eretz Yisroel. And actually Eretz Yisroel doesn't say it over here, but Eretz Yisroel was once the most unholiest of places, the land of Israel. And we transform that and make it into a holy place, into a Jewish land. Now, when we do that, it's not just that we can triumph over an enemy, over an adversary. We can beat it. We can even that we can convert. But quite on the contrary, when we convert earth, the ultimate powers are realized. We tap into powers that were never, ever, ever realized in heaven. They were never experienced in heaven. They were never actualized in heaven. It was unknown in heaven. Why? Because the secret of everything lies in the lowest of the low, in the earth. And that's the idea of what the spies needed to do. Before we even begin the work in the land, we need to uncover and realize the power that there is in earth. That's the meaning of the words, when Moshe sends the Meraglim, Vayasuru es Eretz Canaan. You should scout out with the word Vayasuru also comes in the word Vayisron. You should bring out the Yitaron. You should bring out the advantage. What's the ultimate advantage? Ultimate advantage is in earth, more than all the previous energies that flow into earth. And the Rebbe brought the idea that Malchus is also called earth, Eretz. There's the earth below, but then there's the earth above, which is Malchus. And Malchus first has to receive from all the spheroids. That's the idea of a Yisrael Eretz, that the advantage of earth, Bakoilhu, it's a pasuk. Bakoilhu is through Kol. Kol is all the spheroids above it, primarily Spheros HaYesod, which is the funnel that flows into Malchus. And that receives from all the spheroids above it. But once Malchus receives from all the spheroids, Malchus is able to express and bring forth and uncover and actualize the higher spheroids more than they themselves actualize themselves. So it's an interesting paradox. On the one hand, in order for them to descend all the way down into Malchus, it requires self-restraint. The spheroids have to contract themselves, have to limit themselves tremendously, because Malchus is the least of all the attributes. So they need to condense, contract, compress tremendously. But yeah, once they come into Malchus, Malchus unlocks a certain dimension and depth in them that they never realized before. They're enriched. Like we find in the Malchus of a human being. And when you want to take an idea and teach it to others, the idea could be very, very rich, but when you want to teach to others and you funnel it through your mouth, the power of speech, you have to tremendously reduce it. You have to contract it. But yet we understand that once you transmit something to someone else, to the students, the teacher gains more even than the student. The teacher's mind expands, and the depth of understanding of the concepts are so much deeper. That means that Malchus, which is the mouth, albeit being the most limited, but yet it has the power and rooted and to uncover and to unearth the deepest powers, enrichment of all the other ideas. The emotions are enriched when they come into expression in the mouth. The intellect is enriched. Vayisran eretz bakoilhu. So that's Parsha Shalach. That's the theme of Parsha Shalach. So before we actually conquer the land, we have to recognize the power that there is in land. Again, spiritually in Spheros HaMalchus, and actually down here in the physical earth below, down here in this physical earth. There's nothing more potent and more powerful than your physical life, than your body. Isn't that crazy? I mean, we sometimes say this and we don't even realize the awesomeness of it. There's nothing more important than what? Than your time and space that you're living in right now. Yeah, than your daily life, than your ordinary Thursday, 12:30 right now, the time, your house, whatever is in, you're listening right now, whatever is in your kitchen around you. The tomato that's on the half-sliced tomato that's on the cutting board from leftover, or that you started making lunch, but you stopped now to listen to this class. That is infinitely more important than anything else that exists in the cosmos, in the spiritual cosmos. And why? Because ultimately, the fact that you're going to make a bracha on it and you're going to live your life according to Torah, you're going to, in that lunch and in that table and in that physical reality, that's the ultimate expression. Because in the lowest comes out the highest. And that's the idea of koach, that's the power of the Torah. It unleashes and unearths and reveals the power of the time, of the here and the now, of the moment, of the physical world. And the physical world is time, like we're learning in Tanya now, is time and space. So the time and space of the here and the now is like beyond everything. When we are connecting it to the core essence of everything, which is through Torah. In any case, so that's why Parsha Shalach comes out. When in Parsha Shalach, when we are given the task to do that, that is the ultimate koach, Sivan, the koach of Sivan, the power of Sivan, which is the power of the Torah. Okay. Now the Rebbe says in Dalet, so this gives us a tremendous, a special, extra significance in our generation. Why is this given an extra? Because as much as there was a koach that needed to be revealed by the spies back then, to reveal the koach, the power of the Eibishter, the power of God, the power of the Torah, through uncovering the power that lies in earth, which was done 3,500 years ago through entering Eretz Yisroel, or which was kind of, we struggled with in this week's parsha. You see, the Meraglim struggled with this idea. The nature of a person is to try to, is not to want to take on the difficult challenge, confronting what is an obstacle to God. Because it scares us, the obstacle to God. Like the Meraglim said, they're giants. So in our case also, everything in the world that we see as an obstacle to Hashem as well, sometimes we want to run and hide in our corner and afraid to take it on. We look at it as giants. So we're told, no. Okay, so as much as an important was then, it's so much more important nowadays, because the power of unlocking the secret of earth, the secret of the lowest of the low, is given to us today's days on an infinitely deeper level than was then accomplished when the Jews went into Eretz Yisrael the first time. So much so that in order to bring out the power of earth that we're going to reveal now, which is by the coming of Mashiach, in which we're going to uncover the true power of Hashem that's embedded in earth, and not just in Eretz Yisrael, but in the entire world, because the whole world is going to be Eretz Yisrael. In order for us to be able to accomplish and to do that, it wasn't even enough, the power of Torah that we have, which we said the Torah is the power of everything, but in a sense, we need a new Torah. And I don't mean literally a new Torah, but we need to uncover a dimension of Torah that was not revealed throughout all of the 3.5 millennium that we have Torah. We were operating on a more external level of Torah. We never were, because we had to because the objective, which was to reveal the power of God that's in the earth, in the lower world, was not so deep. It was deep, but it wasn't so deep. And it wasn't so all-inclusive. It was only in Eretz Yisrael, it wasn't on the whole world, and so on and so forth. So as a result of that, in other words, we were working on a far more superficial level in the world. When we say unearthing like when you unearth from the earth, you can unearth things that are close to the surface, or that you can dig deep to the very core of the earth. Obviously, to dig deep to the very depth of the earth, you need a different set of equipment. So the Jewish people were operating on a superficial level of Torah and on a superficial level of soul to draw forth the superficial godliness that is hidden in earth. When I say superficial, I don't mean superficial in the regular sense of the word. All I mean superficial is relative to something infinitely deeper. That's why we're calling it superficial. The unearthing of godliness that's going to come from earth with the coming of Mashiach and the entry of Eretz Yisrael, when we're going to enter Eretz Yisrael this time and build the third temple, and the godliness that's going to sprout forth from the lowest of the low, is so magnificently great that in order to do that, we needed to receive a new Torah. And that's going to be the Torah of Mashiach, which are the secrets, the deepest secrets of the Torah, which that is going to unlock and unearth the deepest secrets of the earth. Now, in order to receive the Torah, just like one the first time, in order to receive, what's Torah? Torah is a tremendous, unbelievable, godly revelation from above. In order to receive such a godly communication from above, we need to purify our vessels. So in Mitzrayim, just like it happened in Mitzrayim, before the Jews can, even though they were so great, they were descendants of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They're talking about super. They were like really great material. They were awesome material. Talking about these are people that they're Zaydis. They had the DNA of their Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah. You're talking about the super giants, and they were not far from them. Yet they all were not ready for this tremendous light of the giving of the Torah. For that, they had to go through hell. And that was 210 years of the worst abuse and suffering and purification, which they were put through the worst nightmare of suffering. That purified their bodies, and via their bodies, it purified humanity as a whole and the world as a whole to be able to receive the great light of the Torah. And then what did we do with the Torah? With that Torah, we can unearth the secret of earth. We can pump out, reveal the secret that lies in Eretz Canaan. You see? It's all about revealing and uncovering the godliness that's in Eretz Canaan. For that, we need to have a higher empowerment from God. We need to have the Torah. And in order to receive the Torah, we need purification. So now, that was round one, and now we are on round two. Round two is on a far greater grandiose scale than the first time. So what do we have to have? Instead of having a 210-year exile, we have a 2,000-year exile. And the suffering we've gone through collectively in this 2,000 years probably is way beyond what we went through in Egypt. When you take it all together and think about the Holocaust and things like that, it don't make any sense. The horror of it. And all this was a preparation for the new Torah, which that new Torah is going to help us bring out the earth, the power of what? That lies in time and space. Do you hear that? That's crazy. So, good, that's going to be when Mashiach comes. But there is a rule. Tayameh achayim zachu. And this is occurring to me right now, even though it doesn't say this explicitly in the Sikha, but I hope maybe we can say that. Just like then, in the first round of Torah, even though the Torah was only revealed at Sinai, we got a little glimpse of it because Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and the Avos were already studying Torah. So they had already a taste of it. What's called, before it was revealed, they had a taste of it. As we got closer to that time, we got within the few hundred years zone to that revelation, it started to reveal itself to our forefathers. So that comparison is what I am making up. I didn't see it. So the Rebbe says, however, that in this giving of the Torah that's going to be revealed through Mashiach, which is Pnimiyas HaTorah, we've also have a taste of it that was revealed in our generation. Where did it start? 9 generations ago. It began in the latter half of the 6th millennium. Since Mashiach really belongs to the 7th millennium, the lights of this whole tremendous light. So the second half of the 6th millennium is when this powerful light of Shabbos, the ultimate light of Malchus, is shining into the world and begins to be picked up primarily from the Baal Shem Tov and onward. And he starts revealing the light of the Torah Shel Mashiach, of Torah of Mashiach. And particularly, as we said before, this light and this Torah has an objective. In addition to it being tremendous godly revelation, which can lead someone to deep divine ecstasy and blissful attachment to Hashem, it has an objective. The objective is that we're going to use it as an instrument to uncover the deepest secrets of where? Of time and space, of earth, of the lowest space, of earth, of the physical earth, which is going to be real when Mashiach comes. In order for that to happen, the revelations of Torah have to come in a manner in which they are not just aloof. They're not transcendent teachings. They're not aloof, but they're attaching themselves to the world at large and to earth. That came about not through the Baal Shem Tov. That comes about 2 generations after the Baal Shem Tov through the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad. Because what the Alter Rebbe did with Chassidus Chabad is that he latched this infinite godly revelation that's obviously completely beyond human intellect and human thinking, and connected it to the human mind. That the intelligence, that it could be captured by the mind. And that's the phenomenon of Chassidus Chabad. And then there were 7 generations that helped anchor that down further and further and further. What's the accomplishment? It's almost like we're funneling lights that are, and truths that are from a realm that's completely beyond time and space, but we're funneling it into time and space, into the world. Again, since the main objective is that we're going to use it eventually as an instrument to unearth and unlock what is within the world itself, so the revelation has to come down in earth too. Similar to the idea that the Torah could not be transmitted just as a spiritual idea given to souls in heaven, but they had to come had to be heard by human beings, physical human beings who have their feet on the ground in the desert. Think about it. I think the most important part of the Jews standing by Har Sinai was not their brains or their deep ecstasy and soul that were on fire. Probably the most important part of the Jews on Har Sinai was the bottom of their feet, their soles of their feet. I don't mean souls, the soles of their feet that are touching the sand on the ground. That's what it's all about. It's all about coming down into the world. So the 7 generations capture of Rabbeim, of Chassidus, were able to capture that it should be understood, as the Rebbe explains, not just in our more transcendental self, in our godly soul, but Chassidus explains its concepts that they can be understood even to our human mind, and not only to our human mind, but even to our animal soul. And as a result of that, we can almost like make these teachings of Chassidus so tangible. And then obviously that will enable us to unlock what's in earth. And the Rebbe says an interesting thing. He distinguishes, and he says, so now what we have over here is that we have two givings of the Torah. We have the giving of the Torah that happened at Sinai, at Har Sinai, and then we have the giving of the Torah that's given now. The difference between the two is the giving of the Torah that was at Har Sinai was, as we said earlier, more of a superficial and outer part of the Torah. And therefore it enabled us to bring forth and to reveal the outer part of the Jew, of the Jewish neshama, and it enabled us, and via that, to uncover the outer part of the divine. And that's the reason why, even though mitzvahs, the Torah that was given to us, did to a certain degree involve earth, because in order to do a mitzvah, you can only do it with the physical materials of the world, and that was the reason why the angels, the malachim, could not receive the Torah. But yet, still, there was no appreciation of the physical mitzvah. In other words, people were, even though they did the mitzvahs in the physical, they interpreted the physical mitzvahs. I mean, the Rebbe doesn't say this explicitly in the Sikha, but I'm just giving a little commentary. They interpreted the significance of the physical mitzvahs in as much as they trigger spiritual experiences in the soul. That meaning to say, that's the way non-Chassidic understanding. And when I say non-Chassidic, I mean all the way back to the time of the Beis Hamikdash. You take a look at the way the Rishonim are not, but on the superficial take of what is written in Chazal and in all the Sifrei Rishonim, is that the actions, the physical action, is considered secondary to the emotional and spiritual experience, to the psychological idea of the mitzvah. Because even though we're doing mitzvahs on earth, we're not really truly appreciating its true value. Why? Because the inner, the secret of God was not revealed. Only the more revealed part of Hashem was revealed. But since by Mashiach's Torah, it's going to be the innermost of God being revealed, which is going to uncover the innermost essence of the Jewish neshama, which, by the way, that's why we changed. Since the Baal Shem Tov, we changed our attitudes towards Jews. We don't measure Jews by their external appearance, and I don't mean only by what yarmulke you wear, or what kind of suit you wear, what kind of hat you wear. But I mean even by level of observance and Torah knowledge. We recognize the complete invaluable preciousness of every single Jew just from the mere fact that they're a Jew, because we've tapped into the godliness, that's the spark of Hashem that's in Neshama. That's the hidden element of the Jew. The spark of Hashem, the Yechida that the Baal Shem Tov enabled us to touch, to realize, to act, to know. And as a result of that, we're revealing the deeper parts of the Eibush there in the world as well. And that is that what is that? Ultimately, what does that mean? The Rebbe says, it's the koach of atzmos that's dafka in earth. Koach of atzmos means that the divine manifestation and revelations, they're revealed in heaven, the godly light, but God's essence is not revealed in heaven. God's essence, for whatever reason that Chassidus explains, is revealed and tapped into and present in earth much more than in heaven. That secret was never revealed until the lights of Mashiach started coming to the world, the lights of Pnimis HaTorah, the lights of the future. So, and therefore the Rebbe says, as we're standing right now ready to conquer the land on a whole deeper level through the teachings of Chassidus. And the Rebbe adds an amazing thing. And then he's going to explain that's why Chassidus itself, within Chassidus itself, Chassidus makes a journey from a higher, purer Jewish environment to a lower, darker, more obstructing, more resistant environment, which is the United States of America. And at its that's its whole objective of Chassidus. In other words, when we think the Baal Shem Tov came, the Baal Shem Tov was an introduction to Chassidus in America. Because the Baal Shem Tov was an empowerment. For what? That we should be able to travel to the United States of America, and the way the Rebbe refers to it as the lower half of the globe, the part where the Torah was not given, the part of the world where the Torah was not given, on the lower hemisphere, the place that is the most chutza she'ein chutza imenu. There's not possible any chutza. You can't have any more external and more resistant, more materialistic approach to life, like the attitudes of the American dream. Man is the ultimate power. You can make with your life whatever you want, and live and enjoy life without any spiritual content. And that was the America that Chassidus came to. America that said God out the window. It's never going to happen. Take a look at the America today. Take a look how spiritually driven America is today. Meaning to say, how many people are looking in life for something more spiritual, more meaning? That was totally opposite of what America was then. That's a result of Lubavitch, Chassidus in the world, in America, Torah and mitzvahs in general, but Chassidus in America, which transformed the world. And today people are searching and they're looking for meaning, and all the material things of the world are not giving them the meaning, and they're looking for a deeper attachment to something truer and higher. That's because we're uncovering the truth of the lowest of the low. And that was the objective of Chassidus to begin with, to reach the lowest world. The Rebbe says that's why the main phrase that was associated always with Chassidus, one of the main core phrases was Yafutzu Meinaisecha Chutza. Now what does that mean? So the Rebbe says we have to take a look at each one of these words. Yafutzu means it should spread. And when we say spread, the ultimate spreading means that there is that there's no limit to the spreading. There's no limit to the spreading. It spreads everywhere. Because if it's still being limited, if it's one place it's not spreading, it didn't spread. Spread meaning it's spreading everywhere. What has to spread? The Maayon. Maayon means the deepest truths, the deepest emes, the deepest truths have to be knowledge of not just the outer elements of God, but of God's most intimate innermost self. Has to reach where? Has to spread. And where are we saying it has to spread? Spreading means spread without an end, and therefore it has to spread chutza. Chutza means to the outer. What does outer mean? That which is the most out of Hashem, the most outside of God, the most outside of holiness. The most outside, the place that you would think is the least receptive to receive Hashem Echad and the secrets of God. And that place it has to receive. But the Rebbe says something even deeper than that. If Torah is saying the word chutza, meaning outside, that means there is a truth to those words, because Torah is using it. How can there be a truth to the word outside? Outside is a lie. There's nothing outside of Hashem. Everything is Him. So the whole phenomenon of outside cannot exist. So this that we say outside, and the Torah is saying, and that means it's true. So you can say what we perceive as outside, but that's not emes. If Torah is saying chutza. So the Rebbe says no, and here's the idea: is that outside means a place that doesn't experience God, and therefore it's outside. But what's the truth of it? The truth of it is that the fact that God created realities that are hostile and resistant and what seem to be antithetical and opposing, whatever words you want to use, in opposition to Hashem. Think about any kind of darkness in the world that is an opposite to Hashem, an opposite to the goodness and kindness of God. And the idea over here is that the true reality of that, why does it even exist as an outside, is so that the Eibishter's truth, that He is so truth, that He's so real, and that He's so the only one, will reveal itself even in that which is the highest possible opposition of Him. That means that the truth of every opposition is only one thing. It's its own truth, not the truth of God. The truth of this monster is that it could convey the power of God, that even a monster is going to become and assist and reveal godliness. That's the chutzah. And that's what Chassidus did. No one else reveals that. Because that can only come from an Eisecha. Only when you have Yafutzu Mein Eisecha, when you have the Maayon, the truths of Einod Movada, the deepest truth that there can't be anything but God. And only when that is revealed can it uncover and reveal, can it say truly the word chutzah? What's the word chutzah? That anything that possibly exists in this world that we look at and say, oh, don't deal me that. Just keep me away from there. I can't go there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to have to do with that. That's just, it's not good for my Yiddishkeit. It's not good for me. I can't deal with that. That's too much of an opposition. That person I can't convince. I can't go into that dark place. No. The truth of that is that someone should conquer it. And who ultimately that God, and that's its whole reason for existence is that it should be converted. And that's its truth. So what does that tell us? What that tells us is that the secret of Chassidus, of the ultimate plan, the ultimate emes, is that there isn't a nekuda, there isn't a point in reality where the Eibishter's emes, not just the Eibishter can't overpower, there isn't a point in the world that's truly in opposition to God. Because the more truly it is an opposition for God, in it lies the deepest point of emes, that the Eibishter's emes is the truth of it too. So what does that do? That takes, and that's obviously the ultimate conquest of Mashiach. And that's the ultimate conquest of, that's what Chassidus was all about. That's why the Rebbe says when the Alter Rebbe was freed from jail, that's why the Alter Rebbe went to prison on Yutes Kislev. When the Alter Rebbe went into jail, he wasn't just going into one particular opposition. He actually he took the Maayon chutza. The Alter Rebbe could have avoided jail. He could have avoided, but then he would have avoided that corridor of darkness. He went into that corridor of darkness. And you can say, and the Rebbe doesn't say these words mamish, that in that corridor of darkness where the Alter Rebbe went on Yutes Kislev was the rosh and the makar. It's the source and the root for every type of darkness that there is in all of existence, in the darkest darkness. And when the Alter Rebbe brought the Maayonis, that they themselves, the Russian Tsar, and that opposition itself recognized his emes and his truth and liberated him and validated his teachings. That was the conquest that chutza she'ein chutza hameno, the Lord, its entire reason is it should give, for example, the very Tsar and his prison that he had, and all that he had was in order to give us a Yom Tov of Yutes Kislev, to bring out the truths of Chassidus and so forth. Now think about it. Okay. And that's why what did the Alter Rebbe say? Pada b'shalim nafshi ki berabim. So that's why when the Alter Rebbe was redeemed, he was redeemed dafka in a way that it uncovered berabim hayimadi, that even his adversaries, even those who stood against him, and in general, what does berabim mean? It means reshus harabim. It means the public domain. Even the public domain, even that which is at the worst public domain. Talking about the public, the big bad world that you say is out there, that big hostile world, the darkest things. They too, haya imadi, are with me. Like David HaMelech says, even the people of Avashalom who fought against him, they were really routing for me. In other words, there isn't anything in the world that's not really routing for us. And that's the secret of Chassidus. And that's the secret of Mashiach. But when did this all come? Where does this is a hidden truth. When does this all come into actualization? Yafutsu ma'inasecha chutza. When did it all? When the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe sails to America and brings the truths of Chassidus, brings the Maayonis into the furthest chutza possible, and that was only a preparation for Koyach Sivan, which is the landing of the Rebbe himself in the United States of America, to finish the work. To finish the work that what? What does the Lubavitcher Rebbe say that no other human being ever said? The Lubavitcher Rebbe said what no other human being ever said is that there isn't an entity in this world that is not ready to be transformed to express God. And the Baal Shem Tov said it, but the Baal Shem Tov said it, I should say, theoretically. I don't mean theoretically. He said it as a reality, but not in the. It wasn't in the actual realm of actualization. Lubavitcher said, let's go. Let's take the whole entire world. There is nothing. They didn't shy away from anybody or anything. And that's the difference between Chabad Chassidicism and all of what we call general Jewry. Everybody in the Jewish world, all, we say, religious Jewish observance, was always to create kind of shelters where we can practice our Judaism. And okay, so I'm going to shelter my children, I'm going to shelter my place, I'm going to create myself segregate myself from this big dark world. To look the world in the eye and say, you too are going to express God, you too are going to express God. Every country, every town, every person, every senator, every judge, every person and every darkness, every Gentile, every element. There's nothing. Every person from every nationality, everybody has within them, and we shouldn't be afraid of anything, and everybody needs to reveal this ultimate. And quite on the contrary, the lower we're going, the stronger the light that's going to come from that place. That's why the Rebbe says, when Lubavitch came to America, guess what happened? not only did we conquer godliness, did we conquer America and get Torah and mitzvahs and bring Chassidism here as well, and the truths of Chassidism, even much more than that. The strongest, the deepest Chassidic thoughts were taught from New York. Like the Rebbe extrapolated in his memorim concepts and ideas in Chassidus that were never taught before. Depth of understanding. More than that, books were printed that were never printed in all the days that Chabad, the enclave of Chabad, was in a small little sheltered town in Lubavitch in Russia, in a very Jewish environment. They had some Chassidus. They didn't have the flood of Chassidus like we have today. Neither the depth of Chassidus or the flood of Chassidus. And what happens? It's flooded. It reaches everywhere, in all languages, in all. And where is the headquarters for spreading godliness across the entire world? We're not in the upper hemisphere, in the lower hemisphere, in New York. Center for materialism, the center for making money, the center, the world's financial center, Dafka there. And what's the building called, the Rebbe says, where all that is happening from? It's called 770. 770, the Rebbe says, is Gematria Ufaratzta. What does Ufaratzta mean? No borders, no boundaries. That godliness has no borders and no boundaries. But the Rebbe says an amazing thing. 770 also means the ultimate of space. 7 is the number of time and space. 770 means 70 nations, 70 7 directions. 7 is the world. All of time and space is 7. 770 means all the details of the 7, which means you can say every dimension of 7, which represents all of time and space, all of creation. Which time and space is the epitome of what? It's the total opposite of beyond limitation. The very definition of space is that things are, what's here is here, and this contradicts there. Each thing occupies its own space. Time also, it's all separate entities. It's all limitation. What defines all of that is limitation. So the Rebbe says an amazing thing. In order to express the ultimate truth of the infinite, it doesn't come by sheltering ourselves away from the pockets of time and space, what did Judaism always say? What is the frum mentality? Call it the frum mentality of the frum world. You can have Yiddishkeit in Williamsburg and Lakewood. You can have Yiddishkeit in your own. This is a place. This is a holy place. That's a very, very treifa place, very dark. Let's not go there. Let's keep away from that. Limitations, boundaries. So what does the Rebbe do when he comes to America? He says, no, there isn't a place in the world where God, so we're going to go into every makom, we're going to go into every zman, every time, every makom, and dafka by entering into time and space, and entering into every space and time and space, what are we going to reveal? We're going to reveal the ultimate emes of the Eibishter, that there cannot be anything that's not him. And that's the ultimate ufaratzta. And that's the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And that's Moshiach Tzidkenu. Now that's where you see why Lubavitcher Rebbe and Moshiach Tzidkenu is the same thing. And what is that? That is Koyach Nisan, the power of Matan Torah. So when does the Rebbe come to America? So not Nisan, Koyach Sivan. When does the Rebbe come to America? On Koyach, on the ultimate power of Torah. What's the power of Torah? Moshiach Tzidkenu. What's that power? That there isn't a nekuda in the world, a space in existence, a being in the world that is an opposition to the Eibishter's emes and truth. This is what it says here. So the day Koyach Sivan is coming our way, we have to realize the unbelievable empowerment. May we merit already that the next year should be in the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi.